This month, we're putting a spotlight on skin health. The American Academy of Dermatology first launched National Healthy Skin Month back in November 1997. Dr. Jennifer Holman is a board-certified dermatologist with U.S. Dermatology Partners here in East Texas. Thanks so much for being with us.
Anytime.
Well, let's start with this, Dr. Holman. I feel like skin health isn't something that we really start to focus on until there's a problem, whether that be acne, aging, or even skin cancer.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And for skin health, it's really one of those, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure for so many skin conditions.
So let's kind of begin with the basics. What all do we want to do to look good?
Yeah. So to look good, of course, I'm always going to recommend sunscreen first and foremost, just because cosmetically the sun and UV rays are something that ages us. And then beyond that, it really gets to where how much you want to invest in how you can look good. It may be a daily regimen at home that you're using perhaps a retinoid or an alpha hydroxy acid or an antioxidant in the morning in addition to your sunscreen. And then, of course, folks go beyond that with either facials, laser treatments, injectable treatments. There's a million things that you can do that are more non-invasive. We're blessed here at our dermatology practice to do all of those things.
Yeah, and you have access to a lot of that. So do you have any personal hacks to that healthy and beautiful, the glowing skin that everybody calls it these days?
Yes, exactly. Again, it kind of depends on how aggressive you want to get and to some degree how much you want to spend. The day in, day out sunscreen is a great thing. And you can find really good alpha hydroxy acids and over the counter retinoids that you could find at Drug Emporium or Walmart or Target. Beyond that, I recommend setting up a consultation with either a board certified dermatologist or a member of their team to kind of make a plan for you, because some folks want to go all the way up to big lasers where you have 2 weeks of downtime, and some people want a monthly facial just to help get that skin a healthy glow. But there's a lot that's accessible for just about anybody. And the great thing is now in 2024, we've gotten really good at treating men and women and all skin types and tones.
So I've heard a lot about the skin barrier in the last couple of years. What is that and why do we need to protect it?
So the skin barrier is essentially just your skin. That's what it is. It's a barrier to help protect everything that's on the inside and to keep all the bad things out, both dirt, bacteria that we don't want inside of our body, all those kind of things. And when that barrier becomes impaired, the skin can't do its job of both keeping the things safe inside and keeping the things that we don't want inside out. And so that's going to manifest itself sometimes as cracked skin, dry skin, eczema. There's lots of different conditions there. The basics for maintaining your skin barrier, we like to protect the ceramides, which are in that top layer of your skin there, because that helps seal it and form that healthy skin barrier. And so what I tell folks to do, especially if you're having any issues with your skin or that impaired skin barrier, number one, sensitive skincare. So like a Dove soap with Cetaphil, those type things that are non-fragranced and that are gentle. I always emphasize too for folks, just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's gentle. Poison ivy is as natural as it gets, but I don't want you rubbing that on your skin. And so sticking with gentle products. And the easiest thing that people can do is in that 2 minutes after their bath or their shower is to moisturize. I prefer creams and ointments over lotions, especially if you have an impaired skin barrier. But if you can get that on your skin within the first couple of minutes of getting out of the bath or the shower, that really helps maintain and keep that skin barrier healthy, because that water doesn't evaporate and take up those natural ceramides after your bath or your shower.
That's great advice. What exactly is the skin microbiome and what can we do at home to improve it?
So there's been a lot of research in the last really kind of 5 to 7 years around the skin microbiome, and we're really learning continuously about it. You hear a lot more about the gut microbiome. It was a big deal to start kind of probiotics for your gut before we really talked about it for the skin. And so the skin microbiome, we've kind of moved in medicine and in dermatology to where a lot of our treatments are just to obliterate all of the bacteria or fungus or yeast that live in our skin. But what we've started to learn is actually cultivating a healthy population of the types of bacteria, or the microbiome encompasses all the microorganisms that live on top of the skin. If you can cultivate a healthy microbiome on your skin, then that actually is more conducive to healthy skin. And so we see like a healthy microbiome in the setting when people can improve their acne and different things like that. Both topically and orally, there's a lot of different probiotics and supplements that can help maintain a healthy skin microbiome.
Kind of some new developments in skincare, I
Mhm.
guess. Well,
Yes.
it is also the holiday season. We've got Thanksgiving and Christmas, which means we're going to be tempted with a lot of foods out there. Another thing that you kind of don't think about is how what we feed ourselves impacts our skin.
Yes, and I think that's a really interesting thing because I have a lot of folks that come to me and they say, I've got acne, do I need to be giving up gluten? Those kind of things. Well, there are some skin conditions that are tightly linked to specific foods, but overall skin health, it really tends to figure out like, what are you sensitive to? And each of us as individuals, our guts are a little bit sensitive to different things. And so there's a ton of skin conditions that flare when you eat or drink things that your body may be sensitive to. And so rosacea, acne, psoriasis, eczema, all of those things can flare if you're eating things that you're sensitive to, which makes sense because we're all one being and the skin kind of manifests sometimes what's going on the inside. And so a healthy diet full of antioxidants, skipping out on like ultra processed foods, those type of things, we know that that really helps the skin, both skin conditions and just overall how your skin looks. Drinking plenty of water, same thing, your skin's going to be a lot more hydrated when you're drinking enough water as well.
So are there any foods that are like the best foods for our skin, like, or maybe ones that we should avoid?
So shopping the outside of the grocery store is kind of the rule on good food for your skin and really for overall health. So foods that are rich in antioxidants, then that's going to be fruits and vegetables. And skipping those foods that are processed. A lot of times heavily processed foods can, cause that skin to look more congested in some of those conditions that I mentioned earlier.
Is there any truth to the fact that sweets flare acne in like teens and stuff? I know I've always heard that, but is there any
Yeah.
truth to that, or is it just because it is also processed?
So if you're sensitive to sugar, then yes, it can flare up your acne. If you're not sensitive to sugar, then you may be okay with some sweets. I know that mothers and especially grandmothers, sometimes they want to blame like Cheetos and Dr. Pepper, which is the standard teenage diet a lot of times for acne. But a lot of times folks are just going to have acne. It's not the fault of the foods they're eating, but avoiding things that they're sensitive to can help their acne be treated a little bit more easily.
Okay, we're going to kind of keep on the teen, or at least that age group. Social media has become a big influence in the beauty world, not just for makeup, but also for skincare as well. If you're dealing with certain conditions like we've been talking about, the acne, the eczema, rosacea, melasma, or something like that, should you see a doctor first before starting a skincare regimen and maybe not just something that you saw on TikTok?
I think that's a good idea. And both of us having teenagers, we hear a lot on TikTok, including my own teenage daughters that think TikTok's advice is better than the board certified dermatologist they live with. But I would say what I love to do is have conversations with teenagers when they come with me with their TikTok regimens, and that we can kind of find a hybrid, a path that I know is medically sound, plus helping them realize what is real, what is not real, what's good and what's not good from what they want to try from TikTok. So I think it's a great conversation to have, but it is a good one to have with someone who knows what they're talking about with evidence-based medicine like a board certified dermatologist.
Yeah, recently we had a story on CBS News. It highlighted a teen who started using those products based on influencers' suggestions, cleared their acne right up. But for her, it made her complexion just more inflamed, and then she had a whole nother issue. Have you seen that in your practice?
Absolutely, I have. Because, like I say, a lot of times people will try to use things that are natural or that are on social media, those type things. And if it's not healthy for their skin, then it's not going to be a good regimen. And so, just like I said, sometimes you can try all these things, but if they're making your skin worse, you should absolutely stop, remember what you did, and then have that conversation with someone who knows what's going to be safe for your skin.
Let's talk holidays. I know that skin and beauty products will be on Christmas lists of lots of little girls and guys everywhere. What age should young people start using those serums, exfoliants, toner, moisturizer? I feel like they have 20 products when I had one.
Yeah. And so I usually recommend around the time of puberty starting to get into a good skincare routine. And that may mean just like washing your face twice a day. And the reason that I recommend doing that is so that later on in life, should you develop any skin conditions such as acne or rosacea, you're already in the routine and the habit of doing something because it takes about 21 days to really build a habit like that. So if you're already in the routine habit of just cleansing your face twice a day with something gentle, then it's very easy for me as a physician to add into that already that habit, that routine. And so around the time of puberty, that's when it's a good idea to get into the habit of cleansing your face twice a day, even if it's with just like the little cleansing cloths that you wipe across your face or using, one in the shower, those type things. But a couple of times a day around puberty is when you really should start doing that.
And what about like the moisturizers and the serums and the stuff like that? Is that absolutely necessary for like, 7, 8, 9-year-old girls that are seeing all this stuff on social media and wanting, all the latest and greatest?
So 7, 8, 9, that's probably a little early to worry about anti-aging. However, moisturizers is something that a lot of us need as babies and beyond, especially people who deal with, a lot of children deal with something called atopic dermatitis or eczema.
Mhm.
So moisturizers for them should become part of their routine from kind of day one. And you can get a lot of preventative benefit too to that skin barrier like we talked about. So moisturizing for anybody at whatever age you're dealing with dry skin is a great idea.
Well, beyond keeping your face hydrated and healthy, that glass skin that we're all looking for, what can we be doing for our skin this time of year to keep it healthy? For some of us, I know healthy skin kind of also means the younger looking skin, which is what you were talking about. Can you kind
Right.
of break down some of that for us? Like, where would you start? First thing, if you want to address the anti-aging situation.
Sure. And so I think this time of year, if you want to answer that specific part, is the air gets colder, the air gets drier. So some of us that don't necessarily need a moisturizer in the summer months are going to need one in the winter months to help maintain that healthy skin barrier. So this time of year is when I really see that need start. We turn on our heaters, we turn on our furnaces, the air gets drier. And so humidifier and moisturizing becomes important in the cooler months. As far as starting an anti-aging regimen, I always recommend setting up a consult with a dermatologist or someone who is a member of their team, because some people want to start with that daily regimen. Some people want to go all the way to injectables, like with Botox to soften lines and wrinkles, or lasers to get that glowing skin. And so it kind of is where your start and your stop button, what you want to spend, how much you want to invest. Like you said, some people have 20 products. I'm lazy as a dermatologist and I want to have one or two power products because I'm not going to spend that much time doing things. And so it really takes setting up a consult with someone to figure out what's the best for you and how far you want to go in fighting the aging battle.
Is there a sweet spot of age that you should start? You kind of don't start really thinking about this stuff in your 20s, early 30s, until you start seeing those deep lines and you're like, whoa, should I have started that earlier? So is there an age, men or women, where you should start thinking, like, I want to keep my face as healthy as possible? What age should you start?
So, from a skin standpoint, as soon as you're starting to see any evidence of sun damage, and that may be very early for some people, they're going to start to see freckling early in life, but sunspots, any rough spots, things like that, that needs to tell you, hey, if I'm not being good with my sun protection, it's time to start, because the UV damage is starting to show on your skin. And so that's the time to start really paying more attention to your skin when you're seeing any evidence of that sun damage that pops up. And that can also be a medical issue and may need to be evaluated by a dermatologist. But then, as far as an anti aging, I always tell folks it's time to start when you're starting to see the lines on your face that you don't want there, or you don't want to deepen over time. And so that's where, for some people, even to the level of injectable treatment, should start in their early 20s. And that's because genetically, we're all predisposed to age a little bit differently. I know for me, genetically, I've got a deep cleft right here. So I did start in my 20s with neurotoxin because I never wanted to develop that line. So as soon as I saw it, that's when we started it. And so it's a little bit variable. We all age at different paces based on our exposures, our genetics, those type things. But as soon as you're starting to notice things that you don't want there, that's when it's time to start to intervene. Don't wait until things get worse.
Well, you mentioned it, SPF and sun exposure. I think this is probably the most important thing that we'll talk about in this interview. Skin cancer is the most common type of cancer in the U.S., with about estimated 9,500 new cases diagnosed each day, which is wild. So when should we start getting our yearly checkups with a dermatologist like yourself?
So most organizations are going to recommend at 21 that you start doing it. However, there's some people that need that earlier. If you've got more than 50 moles, or any moles that, say, even as a child your pediatrician is not comfortable with, you should start skin exams then, perhaps earlier if you have a family history of melanoma as well. Now, most 21-year-olds are not going to be in every year for a skin exam. I think that's not unreasonable either. But if you're starting to see any evidence of any sun damage at all, or you're noticing every time you wash your face that you've got these rough spots or a spot that bleeds more easily, I hear literally on a daily basis, I thought this was a pimple, I thought this was a bug bite, I thought it was an ingrown hair and it just didn't go away. The most common types of skin cancer, basal cell and squamous cell cancer, that's how they can start. And so being aware of things like that that may not heal up or bleed easily. And then certainly melanoma is the deadliest form of skin cancer, and that's your ABCDEs. If you see something asymmetric, a border that's irregular, something that's got different colors inside of it, or the diameter bigger than a pencil eraser, and E being the most important. If you've got something that's changing, especially a mold that's changing, you need to get in to see the dermatologist right away.
And then you guys can, what, biopsy it usually, right?
Yes.
Immediately.
And most of the time we evaluate and say, guess what? You're okay. It's not that. However, there's so many times that yes, we do biopsy it, find out either it's benign or cancerous. But then the nice thing is, at the dermatologist office, we can diagnose it, but we can also treat it.
And let's talk a little bit about melanoma, the one that is the most dangerous. I mean, it can be deadly.
It can be deadly. 90% of melanomas, we're going to catch it as a stage 0 or a stage 1. We cut them out, we stitch them up, and you're done with that one, other than we do routine skin exams after that on a little bit closer surveillance basis, just to make sure if you do have another melanoma that we catch it early. However, there are some very deadly forms of melanoma, and sometimes they come up very quickly and aggressively, metastasize. The good news is in the last 5 to 7 years, we have some great immunotherapies that we partner with our oncologists with to get to patients, and our survival rates have really gone up in the deadlier forms of melanoma. But again, catching something early is the best thing to do. And so if you notice something that's at risk or that you're concerned about, it's time to go see the dermatologist.
And speaking of that SPF, maybe one thing that TikTok and YouTube, and they do very well, those influencers, is they talk about SPF and wearing it every single day, especially on your face, because you're constantly getting sun exposure, even when it's cold outside, right?
Yes, when it's cold, when it's cloudy, when it's foggy, people think, they don't think as much about their sunscreen. We're exposed to UV radiation on a daily basis, just walking in and out of our car. And both from a cosmetic and a medical benefit, we know that UV radiation is a carcinogen. It's an easy way to minimize your risk or to decrease your risk of skin cancer by putting on a SPF every morning. And if you're really out in the sun or exposed to water, you need to reapply about every 2.5 to 3 hours, at least a 30. Beyond that, it's kind of finding the sunscreen that you like. But yes, daily for both cosmetic and medical reasons, SPF is certainly recommended.
At least a 30. Now, are the
Mhm.
70, do you need something that strong? I know it goes up to that, or it goes up to 100
You
now,
know,
I guess.
It does. So there's a curve that kind of plateaus when you hit 30. It slightly increases. I say beyond SPF 30, if you've got a sunscreen that you really like and that you'll wear, then that's kind of half the battle. And so beyond that, if there's one that you like, but certainly for folks, it's the reapplication where I see people miss the boat. Because if you put on 100, it doesn't mean that it lasts 3 times longer than a 35. It means, you still have to reapply every 2.5 to 3 hours, especially if you're exposed to water. These water resistant sunscreens are only good for 80 to 90 minutes of water exposure. And so that's the only caveat that I say. Like an SPF 100 is great, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to reapply.
Well, I feel like your field is constantly changing, especially dermatology when it comes to protecting our skin. Anything like latest and greatest that you want to share with us that's new for skin health that maybe is kind of up and coming that we might not know about?
Sure, I think the whole field of regenerative medicine has really started to intersect with dermatology, especially aesthetic and cosmetic dermatology. And so over the last 10 years, just like we do in joints, we've used a lot of platelet-rich plasma, which is your own autologous plasma with the growth factors for hair growth, for rejuvenation, those type things. And we're starting to see a lot more lab generated, what we call exosomes, that are growth factors as well. And so we're really able to tailor skincare regimens based on you and your own cells for both medical and beauty benefits. And so that's kind of where we're seeing the next, I think, phase is getting even more personalized and more natural with some of these regenerative technologies that are out there.
Yeah, because it's not one size fits all. I know you always hear that, like, this works for me, my face, it loves it, and then you put it on your face and it isn't for you. So that's kind of cool. That's exciting.
It is exciting.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Holman, for being with us. Lots of great advice for Healthy Skin Month that really we can use all year long. So thank you so much.
Of course.